Welcome. In my opinion, Eric Dubay is a fraud. He's trying to create a cult around his own person. I don't understand why so many seems to believe in his lies. In many of his videos, he pretends that he have evidence that they are hiding things about both the North and the South Pole. He also tries to fool his followers that the magnetic North and South Poles are some kind of scam. Let's have a look at one of his latest videos.
And in May 1949, Soviets Vitaly Volovich and Andrei Medvedev claimed being first to parachute to the pole. In May 1952, U.S. Air Force Lieutenants Joseph Fletcher and William Benedict claimed the first aerial landing at the pole. The U.S. Navy submarine USS Nautilus allegedly crossed the pole in August 1958, and in March 1959, the USS Skate claimed first to surface at the pole, breaking through the ice above it. An April 1969 British Trans-Arctic expedition claimed first to reach the North Pole by foot. August 1977, the Soviet icebreaker Antarctica claimed first surface ship to reach the pole. And on the list of alleged polar firsts continue, from first by dog sled to first by motorcycle. In 1985, for a particularly interesting media-hyped first, Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man to stand on the summit of Mount Everest, and Neil Armstrong, the alleged first man to stand on the moon, claimed to land a small twin-engine ski plane and stand together at the North Pole. As is abundantly clear to anyone who has objectively studied the NASA Apollo missions, Freemason Neil Armstrong most certainly did not land on the moon, so it is fair and wise to be skeptical of whether he and his royally knighted colleague Sir Edmund Hillary actually stood foot on the geographic pole as well.
This is just nonsense. He mixes in his lies about that we have not been on the moon and thinks it proves that we have not been on the North Pole. That's because of an astronaut who have flown an airplane to the North Pole. What the idiot he is. There are tourists who have been to the North Pole, adventurers who have traveled there on their own. I have friends who work on Swedish icebreakers who have been to the North Pole. In other videos, he tries to fool his followers that it's a magnetic mountain on the North Pole and the secret land, something like Eden. He is completely crazy, this fool.
As for the magnetic poles, the North was allegedly discovered by James Clark Ross in 1831 at the Boothia Peninsula, named after his father's patron, Sir Felix Booth. This peninsula, located at 70 degrees north latitude, however, strangely placed the magnetic pole well over 1,000 miles from the geographic pole. Roald Amundsen, during his 1903 Arctic expedition, was also credited with discovering a new position of the magnetic North Pole, just 30 miles north from where Ross had claimed. It was later, in 1947, allegedly found again by Canadian government scientists Paul Serson and Jack Clark of the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory, who claimed the pole had moved near Prince of Wales Island at 72 degrees north latitude. Since then, the North Magnetic Pole has continued to be discovered time and again at random places in the Arctic, following no discernible pattern. Likewise, the South Magnetic Pole was first allegedly discovered by Sir Ernest Shackleton during his 1909 expedition, and has ever since been found randomly moving all over the Antarctic.
It's moving because of the melted iron in the core of the Earth, and it's floating around, and it's not completely random. They can make prognosis. They know in which direction it's moving. What differs is the speed it moves. Oh, what a fool. If you did know anything about navigation or compasses, you would know that it's true that the poles are moving, the magnetic poles. And it's stated on the charts, on the maps, how much you have to compensate when you use a magnet compass. And it's also why we on ships are using Euro compasses. Study the subject before you try to use it as a proof for your silly pizza world.
The idea of constantly randomly moving magnetic poles divorced from their geographic counterparts makes it conveniently impossible to independently confirm or deny polar claims by compass. In other words, since the invention of the video camera, any claim to have found the north or south magnetic pole can and should be easily proven. By holding a compass and walking in a circle around the North Pole, the compass should always point directly towards it. And by walking in a circle around the South Pole, the compass should always point 180 degrees away in the opposite direction. To this day, however, no such single experiment has been performed to prove to the public that these are truly magnetic poles at all.
Eric Debate. You only try to fool people. It's easy to find this information and find videos showing this, but you're sure that your followers don't follow up and check the facts in your lying videos. Here is a great video showing how a compass made for the northern hemisphere functions on the South Pole.
Good evening, and evening it is. It's 10:30 at night. See our beautiful sunset out here in the Ross Sea, McMurdo Sound. I'm on Ross Island. That's where McMurdo Science Station is. And I'm going to show you about how compasses work. So here's my compass I brought from home. And there's a difference between magnetic north and geographical north. Geographical north is the North Pole, where all the lines of longitude meet. The magnetic South Pole is going to be where the magnetic pole lines up. And it just so happens that the magnetic South Pole right now isn't even on the continent of Antarctica. It's off of Antarctica. And there's a thing called declination. That's the difference between the two, geographic and magnetic. Currently, it's about 140 degrees difference, which means that if your compass did work, it would lead you in almost the complete opposite direction. So I thought I'd show you this though. Here's my compass, and you can see that white needle is pointing down. Look at as I'm rotating around, that compass doesn't even spin. The needle stays the same. That white needle is dragging down on the bottom of the compass. So kind of fun to play with, but not real useful. I mean, you could rotate it around and try to get that off of the bottom of the compass, but for the most part, not real useful. Now we have a GPS here. Show you my GPS. It has a compass on it, compass page. And the key thing you need to remember with the GPS is you got to be moving if you want to get the direction that you're going. So if you'll look at this, you can see we're headed about in a southwest direction. And if you look out, you can see White Island and Black Island. And right between those is where the South Pole is.
As I said, the compass he's using is made for the northern hemisphere, but the model is sold in 3 variants, one for the northern, one for the southern hemisphere, and one for the area around the equator. This is also the reason why I've started the compass project. We are going to show how compasses works on the northern, southern, and around the equator. We will use the same compasses and all 3 areas. You can read more about this project on my webpage, link in the description. And this project is important to make our own observation and proofs that Eric Dubay and his friends are deceiver fools, and they're trying to use the fact that many people don't know how compasses really works and don't know how the magnet fields works.
Similarly, there are no videos from the geographic poles that provide the public with any concrete evidence that they are anywhere but some indistinct, undisclosed snowy tundra. North Pole documentaries always show some man with an icicle mustache and a Garmin counting up their GPS latitude until reaching 90 degrees. There are never stellar readings made showing Polaris exactly 90 degrees above. There is no footage of the 6 months of constant day and 6 months of constant night supposed to exist at the pole. GPS, the Global Positioning System, is based on a non-existent globe and created by the US military. So why should we trust that a GPS 90-degree north reading is truly the North Pole? Why are the annals of polar exploration so abundant with frauds and hoaxes? Why should we accept all these more recent polar claims as being legitimate when the original discoveries and discoverers continue being exposed as false and liars?
And there we had more nonsense from Eric Dubay. You don't need to go to the poles to have constant darkness. At my home in the Arctic, in December, I don't see the sun at all. At the same time, in the southern Argentina, they have 7.5 hours of sunlight. Explain that, Eric Dubay. You never have experienced the midnight sun and the constant darkness, and then you believe it's proof for it's not exist. That you haven't been in the Arctic is no proof that the poles don't exist as described in science. It's quite funny to hear you sitting there in Thailand and spreading your lies. And about the compass, as you said, and you have in the picture here, in the video I showed, it showed that a compass for the northern hemisphere don't work at the southern. And this we will show very clearly when we are ready with our compass project. Okay, that was all for this video. First I will thank all my Patreon and them who help me with my projects. And if you want to make effort in the project to prove for Eric Dubay and other fools that compasses proves that we live on a globe, you're warm welcome to help or be a patron or in any way help me in this project. Okay, bye for this time. See you soon.